Okay, welcome to Friday Flex.
Yeah, boy.
And this is your hosts, Keith and Joseph. We are talking about communication, not just any communication. And this, I was talking earlier, this may be a 3-part series, 2 or 3, additional parts, because manipulation is the topic today.
Oh.
And I can tell you, I know a thing or two, because I've seen a thing or two.
Ooh, wee.
And I've been in a thing or two.
Oh, you've been in a thing or two. Have you done a thing or two? I know I've probably done a thing or two.
Probably so, especially as a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
So today, manipulation is the topic, and I was gonna bring some different sources, different stories to kind of highlight how manipulation is just something that in society is a very common feature of communication.
Yeah.
And there's a article that talks about, there's actually a few articles that list 25 different types of manipulative characteristics in communication. And previously we talked about just the last few sessions, children with no voice or not being able to vocalize. And then after that was the passive communication, then passive aggressive, then aggressive. And now we're going to the manipulation type of communication. I remember it was in 2019 when I was going when I just started going to a therapist. And one of the things that she had mentioned, I think it was our 5th session, and she was explaining, she said, Keith, I want you to research this topic called covert narcissism. And of course, at that time, I only knew about narcissism, like I guess what you call, the technical term would be overt narcissism. And so I said, okay, I'll check this out. And she said, see if within your relationship, if you can highlight several traits that you're seeing on, a regular basis. And then you make your determination, or you decide if this seems like something that you're experiencing. And so I did research. I actually went so deep, I put myself to sleep.
Ooh.
Into the communication and into the covert narcissism, that I started seeing it everywhere in society, in the sense of
Not being paranoid though, right?
right, not in the sense of, oh, that's a narcissist, but I saw the subtleties. I saw the subtleties, and what
Did you see it in yourself?
I have, yeah. I definitely saw some of the features that at different times, that I would display. And so, for the most part, sometimes the people that become passive aggressive can display symptoms or characteristics of manipulative behavior.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I was doing all this research, and I was understanding that this kind of craziness I was feeling was called gaslighting.
Gaslighting, or someone being deceptive.
Deceptive, yeah. And I understood that for people who are narcissists, and you hear a lot. You hear that term often. Sometimes it's thrown around without really understanding what that means. And so when I was understanding, this is what narcissists do is they gaslight. What people with manipulative behavior do, they tend to make you feel or encourage you to feel that you're actually the one at fault. And that they are free of any misdoing, and that their only intention was to bring you to this point of clarity of your inability to recognize your fault. And I tell you, after gaining some deeper understanding about narcissism and covert narcissism in particular, it opened my eyes as to how when a person doesn't feel like they can get their way by properly communicating, then they will resort to manipulating. And often some don't even know that they're being manipulative. It is just, that is how they're used to getting things. And so because that's how they're used to receiving a certain or getting a certain result, then that becomes their MO.
They will this may not be the best example, but it may be helpful. So like you have an infant. Now, of course, a baby is a baby. And if the child who, when they cry a certain way, know that they will get their parents' attention. Now let's take that same child who has always cried a certain way and always got the attention of the parents saying, oh, I'll get you whatever you want, kind of a thing. So that child becomes an adult and does this whole same crime, but in a different way to get whatever they want.
Right.
They know if they say or act a certain way, I'm daddy's little girl, daddy's gonna, like you see on those little TV shows, like, what is that, Clueless? The rich kid, they act a certain way because they know they can manipulate their parents to get them whatever they want, kind of a thing, even though they're not a good person.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Their intention, again, is just only thinking about themselves. And however they can manipulate anyone around them to get what they want. They really don't care about anyone else whatsoever. If they could humiliate another person, they'll even try to do that as well.
Yeah, humiliation, that's also another form of manipulation. But when I was understanding where does the term gaslighting come from, Mama Swift, what'd she say? Sounds like that used the technique of deflection. Yeah. So when I was going deeper into the different characteristics, and gaslighting being one of the very common tools, I was like, where did this term gaslighting come from? But it comes from a movie.
It comes from a movie?
It comes from a movie. And it came out several decades ago. And it was this husband who was manipulating his wife, make her think she was crazy. And so recently, I don't know within how many decades, this term started becoming more well known or commonly used in the field of psychology as a trait or a method of communication.
It's just comical when I think about it as a method of communication, but yeah, people do that.
Yeah.
Gaslight.
And it was, so I'm looking at my relationship and I was looking at the symptoms. It was, of course, since we're talking about gaslighting, one of the most common features of gaslighting is that you are made, or you are let's just say made to feel that you are not understanding things properly, or that you just misunderstood something so simple. And if only you understood, then everything would be better. Now, mind you, of course, by understanding, things do, we gain clarity. But in this form of communication, the person who is doing the gaslighting, who is doing the manipulation, what they're looking for is to get what they want, even if they know that you have a point, or you have some type of logical reasoning. Mm-hmm. If your logical reasoning does not mesh with their feelings, then I'm not sure why you don't understand. And then you sit back and think, man, I don't understand. Maybe say it again, and you're thinking that
what am I doing wrong?
What am I doing wrong?
Why am I not able to comprehend and understand? Am I not listening properly or connecting properly?
And you start to
properly,
and you think maybe I just didn't hear the whole thing through, and then you're told you're not listening to me, and like, but this is what you just said, and you repeat word for word. Mm-hmm. Did I miss something? Like, you don't understand my feelings. Mm. And so generally, those individuals, because they're not able to articulate their feelings properly, they resort to manipulation. And then when you do reflective listening and you repeat back to them what was said, it was like, not really. Like, you didn't really hear that. Like, I didn't really say that. Like, I said it, but this is what I meant. Like, I said I don't like you, but what I mean to say, or what I was trying to say, is that there's some things that we need to do for me to feel more comfortable around you. But it's like, but you said you didn't like me, but listen to what I'm saying. And then it's like, well, okay, I'm trying,
Because in my mind, as you're speaking, I'm going through my mind thinking, okay, just like you can take a writing in terms of explication, right? So there is reading it word for word, or you can say line by line. This is what you said. Did I hear you correctly? Right? Just making sure you didn't miss anything. Then there's also reading in between the lines. Like, what is the other message they're trying to say that's kind of hidden? I guess the word is encoded or something like that. And then there's also reading beyond the lines. And that requires actually having a little more understanding of the other person who is actually speaking. So they may say something. It may sound like one thing externally, even if someone else hears it passing by, but actually has another deeper meaning. So in my mind, I'm just thinking, or maybe I'm going too deep into it. But again, just keeping in mind that the other person not knowing how to properly articulate what they're feeling. Even though they are telling the person whom they're supposed to be sharing their feelings with, although they're telling that person, that the other person is not getting it, but the other person is really trying to understand. I'm curious in terms of just learning more about the gaslighting, or of course the covert narcissism.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying not to get it mixed in with other communications, just being able to have a crisp, clean cut, okay, this is really what it is in terms of someone being covert narcissistic or, gaslighting. I guess after a while, one would have a gut feeling. What I mean by that is there could be certain things that person does, and when you see, okay, boom, 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 wait a second. This is not just a person who is not good at articulating their feelings. There's something behind that. There's
Ulterior,
something more.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly, some ulterior motive.
Yeah.
And when there's something to that effect, that there's some ulterior motive, and it's okay, yeah, this person is truly gaslighting, or being deceptive, and making me think that I'm cuckoo or something's wrong with me, when in reality, something's really wrong with that person, and they're and they're really trying their very best to get one over on me. And when I think of that, it's like in any relationship, trust, communication, setting up a very solid foundation where it's not just two people, but that it's an us. Because if there isn't an us, and if they're not working together as a team and really connecting deeply and so forth, then there will always be some degree of disconnect.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about different relationships in general, and I know in previous relationships, when I think carefully and how things would get a little interesting, for lack of better words, that's because we did not establish an us. So that those lines of communication are clear, that we really truly understand each other and so forth. So that way, in other words, those important steps that are necessary so that something like gaslighting or someone being deceptive can be easily pinpointed. Like when you can easily identify it.
The Decepticon.
Because if there isn't a deep connection, and if there isn't any intimacy, meaning like you can reveal your heart and confidence, and that person can reveal their heart and confidence, you're really connecting deeply, then man, when I think about it, I don't want to say every interaction, but to some extent, most relationships would definitely be or have some degree of, of this covert narcissism, especially if we have our own baggage. Just individuals in general coming in a relationship, they have their own baggage, whether from their childhood or from another previous relationship or relationships. And they're bringing in all of these bags of tricks that they've learned.
Yeah.
They got monkeys on their shoulders and they're trying to throw one on you. And then they're playing these games. Man, that's like one ship I wouldn't want to be in. Like, you don't even have to pull out the plank. I'm just going to jump over the rail. You don't have to tell me to walk the plank. I'm jumping out of this situation.
Yeah.
Because who wants to be in that type of a ship?
Yeah. So, as you were mentioning, yes, there's definitely a fine line because one can express that's what I was thinking about. So there's a fine line because if someone's first language is not your first language, then they're not accustomed to certain words and the meaning, then yes, there could be some. They may not try to be manipulating. They may just not know how to articulate properly, which could be that. And so I was thinking also that there are times in which it's not intentional and that there's no malice behind it.
Right, there's no malice, exactly.
You know.
But there are cases where, as you're probably alluding to, that there is some malice behind some individuals.
And so I would, one of the elements of manipulation, you know, because we were talking about gaslighting, and actually, let me give you this example, this story, to explain or to illustrate gaslighting, to get one's way. So this story is from the ancient yoga literature called the Mahabharata. And this was, I'm not sure what day in this 18-day battle it was, but there was a king by the name of Yudhisthira. And the king, they were facing an opponent by the name of Drona. And so Drona was extremely powerful. He was one of those individuals that he desired, or unless he desired to be killed, then he couldn't be killed. He was one of those kind of individuals. So because there was a loving relationship between the king and Drona, before the battle, the king asked him, said, how can we, take you out? How can we kill you? Because they were on opposing sides. And he said, the only way to do that is to make me drop my weapon and no longer desire to fight. So he's telling the king how to defeat him. And so, conversely, those who are good at manipulating know how to manipulate. They know how to read the person that they're getting ready to manipulate. They
look for the weak spot.
They look for the weaknesses, right? And so, so the day of the battle, so the day they encounter each other, Yudhisthira, the king, is given a suggestion. They said, one of the leaders in the army said, tell him that his son has died. And when he hears the news, he's going to drop his weapon.
And not want to fight.
And so the king was, a very honest person generally. But because they need to win this war, he had to do things he didn't normally wasn't accustomed to doing. So he said, I can't say that because it's not true. So the king's brother says, well, there's a elephant that has the same name as his son. So therefore, I'll just kill an elephant and just say,
this
name,
this person
has died. Yeah, this person has died.
Yeah.
And so he says, okay, I can do that. Because it's
Still
true.
being true, yeah.
And that's the thing. There's always a little bit of truth to what the manipulation is. Mm-hmm. But there's a whole lot of lie on the other side. Mm-hmm. And so the brother kills this elephant with the same name. And during the battle, he says, Ashwatthama has been killed. Ashwatthama, and he whispers under his breath, the elephant has been killed. And so Drona says, is that true? He says, yes, Ashwatthama the elephant is dead. And he drops his bow and he becomes bewildered. He's not thinking clearly anymore. Mm-hmm. And they take the opportunity to kill him. Mm-hmm. And so manipulation is like that. The one who's manipulating understands the weaknesses, understands how to get underneath the skin of the person, what will they succumb to, and then they will paint or illustrate a picture in which, seems convincing. Mm-hmm. Only that picture, that illustration is not accurate. Mm-hmm. Fake news, and
basically.
And so they weave in a little bit of truth and a lot of lie. Mm-hmm. And it's what makes them more play deeper into character is that there's a little truth in there. Yeah. It's like, I'm telling the truth, like, yeah. And that is what makes generally a sane person feel like they're crazy. Mm-hmm. And so for example, they can tell you, I love you. Why don't you do X, Y, Z, or whatever it is? Mm-hmm. And you explain, well, I don't feel the love because you do this. Well, they say, well, I cook for you, or whatever that one thing may be. Mm-hmm. And they think about that, and that's their equation, or that's their variable which determines their love. But there's a whole bunch of stuff that they're doing outside of cooking that doesn't demonstrate love.
Yeah.
And so when you flip it on them, like, you're doing this, like, I don't feel the love because you're doing this, this, and that. Mm. How can you say that? And that is one of the kind of deflecting tactics. Mm-hmm. How can you say that? What gives you the...
Easy. You did this. How many times you want me to say it again? Maybe you're not understanding. Let me put it out to you one more time.
Right.
You're not understanding me.
And so you're in this situation where, and if you have a genuine heart, you really reflect, maybe I am receiving love and I'm just not appreciative. And that's when they get you.
Mm. Gotcha.
Yeah. And then you, okay, what does you want me to do? And it works for them. Mm-hmm. Because that little bit of truth that was sprinkled in there was good enough for them to stay in character, if that makes any sense, and to allow them to push their agenda.
Yeah. Yep.
There was a couple comments
that moment where you actually doubted yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
And then because your intelligence is like, well, I don't know about that, maybe. And then as soon as you start questioning yourself, despite evidence, because it's despite evidence, then that's when you lose.
Yeah, basically in a nutshell. Yep.
And so, mind you, this story was 5,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And people are much more sinister than the king nowadays. And so when I looked at my relationship and what the therapist suggested I kind of investigate, what was mentioned and what I saw were in line. And they say a good therapist will allow you to, will lead you, allow you to come to the right conclusion.
Right.
And so I was just thinking to myself, how did I get in this position? How did I get in a position where me as a rational, logical being could be convinced that, oh no, you're not hearing me properly. Despite repeating word for word. It's like, no, you still don't get it. I'm like, what do I know? What don't I get? I'm saying what you're saying, and it becomes, to one's mind, to one's physical body, it becomes very damaging to be in a position in which you're constantly questioning your ability to comprehend. And so manipulation has, outside of the gaslighting effect, there's blame. There's the blaming element. Before I go into blaming, there's a couple points. Mama Swift says, when you ask questions for clarification, it makes them angry. Yes. That's
Mama Ewan says something too.
Mama Ewan.
Big Mama Ewan.
Difficulty open up live stream. Just checked in a lot of that, how you can say that goes in and it can cause a sane person to question their sanity. Yeah. So Mama Swift was talking about asking for clarification. And generally people who are manipulative don't like to clarify.
No, because then they got to give away their secrets. What they're really about.
Victoria doesn't like to give away her secrets.
I'm going to leave that one alone.
So they
not going to manipulate me.
So
I'm going to stand on truth.
So
go ahead, get it out of your system.
But they like things to be obscure. They like things to be kind of
cloudy, murky, just not clear at all.
Is it ambiguous?
Yes.
Ambiguous.
Saturday Night Live. Oh boy, that was a crazy comedic
comedy sketch.
Comedy sketch there, yeah. That cartoon, that is some crazy stuff. But yeah, ambiguous. Ambiguously.
Deceptive.
Exactly.
So because that type of and ambiguity allows for them to operate.
Don't do that with your hands.
allows them to operate in a space in which they can wreak havoc.
Yes.
What do you gotta say?
I'm not gonna say anything.
What do you gotta say?
I'm not gonna say anything.
Just say it.
I'm not saying it.
So we have to be aware of these kind of individuals, because when they do not like to explain themselves, and when you ask them to, they get offended.
Yes.
Your mom says they get angry.
Yes. Yes. All worked up.
They get worked up
For no reason.
and you see that a lot. Like generally, unfortunately, as I remember as a kid, when I get called out for something, I just get all angry just so I could deflect. Like, what? No, you're wrong, or I can't believe this. There's this. Before R. Kelly went to jail, he was interviewed. I can't remember what the lady's name was, but she was asking him some very direct, straightforward questions, and to deflect, he got up, just like, it's like everybody's attacking me and all this other stuff, and I just try to do my best, and all these other things. They highlight their attributes, but in an angry way to kind of distract and deflect people from really seeing what's happening. And so some people believe, okay, maybe I'm not. I didn't understand this. Maybe it was lemonade you were pouring on people.
Could have been movie magic.
Yeah, it could have been. But but despite the evidence and the videos, it's like you're still gonna say that, despite what's seen, and they're extremely audacious. Mm-hmm. Those who are manipulative are audacious in the sense that, despite confronting them with evidence, they don't care about the evidence. Mm-hmm. 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 Because that was just one time. Or
well, what about all the other videotapes? You telling me those were squirts? It's not Sprite anymore. Now it's a squirt.
And
ocean spray. Sierra Mist.
Mountain Dew. So with these people, like when faced with direct information, I won't butcher the Sanskrit word, but direct perception. They run away from it. Like, I saw you do this. Mm-hmm. It's like, and then they deflect to, but you did this.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't. What did he say? You saw me in the shower?
It wasn't me. Picture this, we were both.
So you have people who, after the one tactic doesn't work, then the blaming begins. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, but you did this. Mm-hmm. You got blood on your hands. Your hands are dirty also. Who's the pot calling tea kettle black? And that's a form of deflection because it's like, well, maybe, I mean, you're right. I did do that. So maybe I guess I can't blame you. I guess I can't. I really can't say anything now. And so the person who now has a valid excuse, or excuse me, valid argument, is now looking at themselves as maybe I'm the cause, maybe I did this. I was an integral part. Of course, there's always two sides of a coin.
Right.
To be very clear, there's that is a thing. And there are people who, despite communicating, do so with the intention to manipulate or to get their own way, despite how unreasonable that may be. And you see that a lot of times in politics.
That's true. Because the language and how they word things is never quite clear.
Right. Yeah. And like we were reading last week, sometimes that ambiguity is used often in legal terms. So that it's like, well, maybe it's this, maybe it means that, maybe it means this.
That way they can easily back out of whatever situation so they're not put in the corner.
Yeah, not pigeonholed, And so it allows them the ability to, as we said earlier, maneuver in a space in which if one is unsuspecting, they can easily become convinced against their own intelligence or their own ability to reason. There's another comment. Mama Ewing says, Mama Swift,
mamas are talking.
Mamas are talking. Mama Swift is right. When you question, the anger does come. Then you know that there is truth in what you're saying. People have to know themselves and know the truth and move forward with it.
Yeah. True.
There was a video that I was watching yesterday about, I guess, a famous TikToker who made a quote, some biblical quote. And it wasn't a biblical quote, it was a quote with the Bible and the kind of some of the characters in question. And she was convinced, or she found out later by a scholar of the Bible that her position was actually inaccurate. And what she did was she said, I was wrong, and therefore I appreciate being corrected. What you do not hear people who operate in a manipulative way ever say is I was wrong.
Right.
Or I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah,
or
they don't.
My mistake, my bad. Those kind of words do not exist in their vocabulary.
No. Because they're being deceptive.
Right.
They don't want anyone to know
what I'm being sorry
their
about.
agenda.
Yeah.
They feel that they're always right. So exactly, like you just point out, why do I need to be sorry?
I didn't do anything. So I remember, I would recall experiencing never being told, that was my fault, I'm sorry about that. Or my bad, my mistake. it was always there's room for opportunity to grow for both of us. Or there's a
I'm sorry for laughing.
or
That's very clear.
Yeah. Or it was like, there's a lot that we need to do to be better human beings. But it was never owning the mistake.
Holding themselves accountable.
Holding themselves accountable for, or responsible for it. It was always a we,
Yeah.
But never I. It was always you.
Yeah, they're going to try to include you in
me,
there.
But never I.
Yeah.
Except for if I'm hurt.
Yeah.
You hurt me. And with this kind of communication, it becomes very toxic. And that toxicity starts to affect the body and one's self-esteem, one's ability to function in a day-to-day space, because when you're convinced that you're not perceiving things correctly, then you start to tread very lightly everywhere.
Yeah.
In places that
You don't even need to
you don't need to tread lightly in.
But you're completely doubting yourself in all aspects of your life.
In all aspects of your life. And you're like,
did I wash my hands? You're questioning yourself like, did I do what I was supposed to do? Did I do this? Yeah, exactly. It shows up.
And it shows up, it permeates everywhere, like an odor, like a stank. It's everywhere. Stays in a pocket.
Near your desk. Woodward Avenue has saved my life so many times. That corridor of fresh air just...
So...
Not going to deceive me.
No, it was like... the refrigerator's broken.
I was like, it smells like... it smells like roses right here. But then when you go 3 feet this way...
Like it must be a dead rat.
I was like, maybe something in the bathroom. Maybe something in the bathroom. It's trash. It's the trash.
It's a dead rat.
No. It's somewhere in the furnace closet there, We don't have a key to it, so we can't access. So it better not be a dead mouse in there.
Something's rotten.
And I'm just like, wait a second. It's permeating.
So yes, it happens.
It happens. Habitually. Oh, man.
I forgot what I was talking about.
I'm not going to say anything. But you were just pointing out that the person does not hold themselves in terms of accountable and responsible for the error that they made, the blunder that they've made.
Right.
They will present it by saying, like, we have things that we need to work on. And, but all the while they want to make sure that the you, meaning the other person, not themselves, but the other person is questioning and doubting themselves. And then how that has an effect on us, because then they got us to think or question our own intelligence. Maybe I did make a mistake or not hear properly or whatever. Or yeah, I was involved. I do got a little, sauce on my hands too, whatever it may be. And then because we're questioning ourselves or doubting ourselves on that unique situation, then we start to doubt ourselves and all other aspects of our lives and our relations with other people, work, school, wherever we may be. We just start questioning and doubting ourselves. We need to double check, triple check. I mean, there's nothing wrong with measure twice, cut once.
Snippet.
But if you find yourself measuring thrice and never cutting,
Yeah.
then let me go back to the drawing board again. And you're trying to figure it out, then you've just been hit by a smooth criminal.
Yeah.
Ow!
Yeah.
So yeah, you've been hit by a smooth criminal. They got one on you.
And so if we can develop or understand some of the traits, and there was another comment.
Yeah, Mama Ewing said something actually.
So in politics and in so many personal relationships, this is very relevant topic in communication. Yeah, and even in spiritual communities, there's manipulation.
Of course. Of course. In the words of Jim Rohn, because not everyone is coming there with the proper intentions.
Right.
You have some people who they're actually seeking fame or distinction, adoration, a certain degree of respect and attention and prestige and so forth. And so they would do whatever they can to get that, even if that means manipulating other people. Just to make it appear that their center is running beautifully, like a well-oiled machine. When in reality, there are a lot of people that are being neglected, because neglect is another form of abuse. So they're neglected or abused, whether mentally, physically, emotionally, having a situation where people are doubting themselves like, oh, I guess because I'm not doing this particular service that I was asked to do, then I'm not a good servant of the Lord. We start questioning, wow, maybe I'm not a good person. Maybe I'm not a good devotee or servant. Because I need to take care of myself. Or I need to take care of my children. Things that one has responsibilities to take care of in their own life, but they, because of whoever, it could be temple management or someone in any leadership position, may convince that person otherwise, that you don't have enough devotion because you can't do this and do that, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
And you question yourself, wow, I guess I don't have that much devotion. When we won't have to necessarily go into what is the proper way of handling that, but still, that exists. And it's unfortunate because you have so many people who their devotion or their faith gets hurt, gets damaged.
And sometimes beyond repair.
Yes.
In the sense that they become, they don't believe anything anymore.
Yeah, forget it. Yeah.
And a lot of times, cat got my tongue.
Really?
A lot of times, you have.
Not gonna say nothing.
You have people who experience one bad teacher, guru, priest, minister, pastor,
imam or
yeah.
whoever may be in any position, a sheikh.
And that person destroys the seed of devotion in the heart of the practitioner. And it was mainly for some type of power trip.
Yeah.
And there was sometimes in different communities, spiritual communities, there's this donation requirement.
Or tithing. Sometimes
yeah,
it's called that
tithing,
too.
yeah. Where some of the people in charge will make or encourage their followers to feel bad if they're
Donation.
not. You gotta give some.
50%.
Put some skin in the game.
50% of your income.
Yeah.
God said.
Yeah. And
We gotta build this church.
or build this temple, build this mosque, all of it,
Every one of them.
every one of it.
We gotta build my mansion.
We gotta build. I need one here and there. And so, people who are not able to give a certain percentage, they feel like if I'm not able to give that, then maybe I don't belong. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm not gonna make it.
You don't have enough devotion.
I don't have enough devotion. And people, because of feeling not good enough, say, well, maybe I shouldn't be here. Mm-hmm. And I'm almost certain. Now I can't talk for the big guy, but I feel with some level of confidence that the percentage in which one gives is based on one's, the percentage one gives does not necessarily make that the determining factor between being loved or not being loved.
No. You can't buy love.
You can't.
No. You can have someone that, let's say, they donate $100,000 in a year. There's some situations like that. Or there may be some people who are only able to donate $100 a year, right? But it doesn't mean that that person has real love at all. Mm. They're just, here, take that.
I make $20 million here. Here's 100.
Yeah, take that, that. A little change. Here, take that. No big deal. Yeah. Take that. But then you have a person who doesn't have any money at all, but they come there with one piece of fruit. Or they don't even have any fruit to give.
Can I clean something?
Can I clean something? You know? Or, you know, can I assist? Can I help? You know, if there's a meal that's going to be served, can I chop some vegetables or what have you? Or can I water the plants? Mm. You know, can I polish something? Can I render some service? One is giving their time. Because at the end of the day, it's about the relationship. Money represents the time that individual had spent, whether it was working or doing whatever, and money just simply represents that time. But it's really not about the money. It's about to what degree are we wanting to be present in that relationship? Or do we want to remain truant in that relationship? Mm. Oh, here, take this money. Now leave me alone.
Yeah. And you have people like that.
Yeah.
But the purpose of this point is that you have people in positions of leadership who, because they have an agenda,
preach.
Will
take your time.
They will mask their agenda behind. If you don't do this, then you're not making it to wherever.
Right. Yeah.
And you have people that literally become so distraught that they're like, if I can't do this, maybe I'm not good enough. Mm-hmm. And so, and that's just with, as you mentioned, tithing.
Yeah.
There's so many elements within like a spiritual community in which manipulation can manifest. But generally the goal between that person that's manipulating is that they have an agenda that is specifically for themselves.
Yes. Yeah.
Not for anybody else.
Just only
For themselves.
Yep.
And it is, and I know we're getting close to, we're actually a little over, so we'll have to, it's going to be a few more parts.
But we're going to continue next week.
So the two parts that the two elements of communication or manipulative communication that we talked about today was gaslighting and blaming.
Yeah.
And then there's, I guess we'll go more into guilt tripping because that's kind of more. That's kind of more what we kind of went down the rabbit hole in. But next week we'll talk about the other elements of manipulative communication because it's so common that so many examples one can use to illustrate the characteristic, the symptoms, and how to identify them. So, there's a couple more comments. Let me read those comments before we wrap up. From Mama Ewing. Let's see here.
Oh,
did I go too far?
The apologetic one, or unapologetic, I think.
I
think it's just above that.
People are very unapologetic and rarely, if ever, own their mistakes, which does not allow them to grow, and is very toxic. That is when you back away to this type of communication, and if you don't move or back away, it can seriously have an impact on your health, mentality, and physically.
Oh, wait a second. You missed a whole section there.
Did I miss something?
That's when you back away and change your direction of association. Did you read that?
Oh, did I? I did
Son, you
that.
just over there skipping.
I'm over here skipping. Okay, so again, people are very unapologetic and rarely, if ever, own their mistake, which does not allow them to grow and is very toxic. That's when you back away
and change your direction of association and environment. I can really relate to this type of communication. And if you don't move or back away from the... But yes, it can seriously have an impact on your health, mentality, and physically.
Glad you got an extra pair of eyes. Need 4 of them. Let's see here. Okay. In some spiritual communities, this is widespread and it can kill the creeper. Your topic today hits home deeply in more than one area.
What was that one thing I sent it? No, you sent something to me. And quick, just jump back. The gaslighting, it was from a 1938 British play called Gaslight. And then, let's see here. It was in regards to communities. With one of the fires, the intercommunal discord among, you could say, devotees or parishioners or vice versa, is like a forest fire, where there's such a discord that basically it just spreads like a wildfire.
Yeah, it's so true. So this is a great topic, and we'll have a few more sessions, maybe 2 more about manipulative communication, and definitely if there's any thoughts or points to share, please let us know, and we can talk about that too. So until next time, flex. All right, take care.
Take care, you guys.